Hey guys, TheGrayK here. Today we're going to be taking a little introduction course into Blender for the purpose of modeling custom levels in Banjo's backpack. First thing we want to do is just make sure that we can tell what size things are, so that if we make a door we know that Banjo can fit through that door, which I know that Banjo is roughly 4 feet tall, which is 1.2 meters. Anyway, let's get in. So you want to come over to this little button here in the buttons panel. Move that over. I don't know why. Okay, the buttons panel. It's this one, the scene thing. You want to come to that. Click metric or imperial, whichever you use. I use imperial, so that's what I'm going to click. And you should be pretty much set for that. You can see that the scale should now reflect, or the dimensions should reflect feet, 6.5 feet, all of these, or if you're doing metric, 2 meters, which is about right for the size, which it actually is right. Anyway, okay, so now that we're on to the modeling portion of this tutorial, let's discuss a few terms that I'm going to be using that you might not know. A vertex, which this is a vertex. That's it's a point in three-dimensional space, so that's pretty much all it is. It's just a point in three-dimensional space. When you have multiple vertexes, it's actually called vertices. So these are vertices, and a vertex is one. Multiple is vertices. Okay, next we have edges, which is a connected set of vertices. So you have two, and this is one solid edge. If you have more than two, you have what's known as an edge loop, which if these were to be connected, it would go all the way around. So it's a collection of edges. Okay, and then the next thing is a face, which these are faces. A face is a polygonal connection of multiple vertices. So rather than trying to explain like, oh, it's four edges or multiple edges connected, it's the vertex points. Okay, so let's get on to how to model in Blender. So first things first, when you come into Blender, you have this cube. You want to press Tab to actually get into editing, because you see down here we have this edit mode. You start off in object mode, which allows you to move it, but you can't really change very much about it. Like if I wanted there to be a hole in this, there's no way I can do that right now. But if I were to press tab, or I could come down here and just go into edit mode, I can actually just come over to my face selection tool and zippity doodah. There's now, it's like a cup or a something. I don't know. Okay, so that's tabbing into edit mode. That's the best thing to call it, I think. So tab in, tab out. And that's what tab does for you, and that's how you get into actually starting to model. Next, we'll talk about what this guy right here is. And we'll also talk about how to select things and stuff like that. What this thing is your 3D cursor. If I put this, it's pretty important, and it's good to know where it's at, because it may look like it's close to this cube, but in reality it's not. So it's good to know about, like, keep your mind 3D oriented, because this can be anywhere. But you can always just type in Shift S. You'll get this snap selection menu, and this will allow you to change certain things. You can actually, if you want to move this vertex point or whatever you have selected, you can actually Shift S and then move the selection, whatever you have selected, to the grid, to the cursor, or to the cursor offset, which I've never actually used that. I'm sure it moves it to the cursor with the option to have it offset by some amount. I'm not sure what, but anyway, Control Z. You also have the option to move the cursor to what you have selected, or to the center, which is usually where you want that guy. So let's go ahead and talk about how to select things. So I have these two planes created, and I want to move this one, but I have this one selected right now. So what do? I come over here and I try to click it. Oh, I'm just moving that 3D cursor. I don't know what to do about that. Well, that's because in Blender, you right click to select things. So it's right click. That's how you select things. Left click is just going to move that cursor around. A couple other functions that the mouse does is if I wanted to just move this, what I would do is move it over here, and then I would left click because it's going to confirm my operation. If I right click, so if I bring it over here and right click, it just jumps back down. It cancels what I did. It's like, never mind, I don't want to do that, and I want it right back where it was before I started moving it, which is really handy. So remember, right click to select, and when performing some kind of manipulative activity, just right click cancels, left click confirms. And that works with most things. Let's move on to some of the function keys that you'll be using a lot. So you have R, which rotates, so R for rotate. You have G, which grabs it to move it, so grab. And then you have S, which scales it. And that left click, right click rule, where left is confirm and right is cancel, applies to all of those things. So let's move on. Okay, so let's actually tab into edit mode here, and we'll start doing some cool stuff. So we've got this cube. What we want to do is let's start with, actually I'm just going to get rid of this cube altogether. I'm going to press A to select all, so A to deselect and A to select all. So if I want to deselect everything, A. If I want to select everything, I'm going to press A. It's pretty standard, universal kind of thing. Press X to delete. It gives you an option of what do you want to delete, which is neat. If you want to just delete certain vertices or edges or faces, then you have that choice, which is really cool. Let me show you an example. So I want to delete these two vertices, right? So there we go, done. But oh my, it deleted this whole face. I didn't want to delete these two faces. I just wanted those two vertices gone. So I undo. How would I do that? Because these vertex points make up this face. Oh, well, why don't I just go to just delete that edge? And there we go. And now we have those 2 points, which is really handy for certain things. It saves a lot of time. Okay, but I really want to delete everything. I just thought I'd take that to show you guys what's up. So I'm going to create a plane, which I don't like the placement. That's bad. So I'm going to just push X, vertices, Shift S, cursor to center, Shift A. Let's just delete that object, actually. Okay, so Shift A, add a mesh plane, and I'm going to tab back in. There we go. Now I like it right in the center. And I'm just going to go ahead and scale it up, make it pretty big. Remember, we've got real life world units on, so it's right now 18 by 18 feet, almost 19 feet, which is what in metric, just for metric people. For almost, right now it's at almost 14 by 14 meters. I think meters, that seems, yeah, meters. Okay, anyway. There we go. I think that's a pretty good size for a pretty big level. It's not super huge, but it's not super small. And just go ahead and delete these things. You're not going to need those for making levels in Banjo's backpack. They are useless. Okay, so first thing you might want to do is just W, which opens up all these super cool options you can do. It's a specials menu. So you've got subdivide smooth. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's so many. And I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm not going to tell you which each one does because that would take a while. So, let's just subdivide this plane. few times. You also can come over here and change the number of cuts. We could make it really high or could make it really low. Especially with games, it's really good to keep your vertex count low. So keep that in mind. It's not necessarily a demand anymore for Banjo's backpack because you're not constricted to the same level size as it was before, but just keep in mind it's going to run better if you keep fewer vertex points out of the mesh. So let's go ahead and just make a simple level. So I'm pressing Alt to select a whole edge loop. Alt and right click, and that selects a whole edge loop. And I'm pressing Shift to select multiple edge loops. And I'm going to press G to grab it, and I'm going to press Z, which constrains your grab to the axis. So G and a Z, it means I can only move it up and down on the Z axis. If I press G and X, I can only move it along the X axis. And if I press G and Y, same with the Y axis. So I'm going to just move this up a little bit. It's not going to be a fancy level. I'm not even sure what I have in mind for it. There we go. It's not fancy. Let's see. Add some cool things. Okay, let's see. If I press C, I have the selecting brush, basically. And if I want to deselect these vertex points with the selection brush, I wouldn't right click because that cancels my selection brush. What I do is press C and then middle mouse button over my vertex points, so that there, now I only have that selected. Now for some magic, I'm going to press E to extrude. So E is for extrude. I'm right clicking to cancel the placement, which it's still extruded, but I didn't want to move it along the normal. That's the default for extruding. It'll usually want to move your selection along the normal so that it just comes straight out, but I just want it to go straight up. So I'm going to press G and Z, and then I have these extra faces on the back here, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete those. And now we've got that. And then maybe over here we can have like a E on the Z here, so we have like this really high part that Banjo can jump over to. See how tall this model is. Yeah, it might be too, actually it's way too tall. So let's go ahead and move these down. Another thing I like to do is just create a cube. Shift A, cube, and then I come in and I'll oh, it's metric still. Okay, there we go. I will come in and make this the size of Banjo. So I know that Banjo is 4 feet tall, which that's not tall. So let's make that 2 again, not 42. Okay, so Z is tall, 4. And then I'll make him not 2 feet wide, which is an approximation. I don't know that he's that way. I don't know that he's that way. I do know that he is 4 feet tall, though, and 1 foot thick. Here's a great approximation of Banjo. Right there. And just drop him down onto the floor there. And now I can see he can definitely make that jump, but he couldn't make that one. So I'll press Control R, and you can see it's creating a whole loop there. I'll come into Face Select again, and I'm just going to select these two, and I'm going to press E on the Z. And there, now you can definitely make it up to this point. Because like I said, he can, oh, I don't know if I did say, he can jump about 10 feet with the back flip. So he can definitely make it up there, and I believe he can make that jump. That's something you're just going to have to get used to knowing So let's move on to texturing, because that's one of the other things that you have to do for Banjo's backpack, because you don't want to be playing in a big white level that you can't really see the difference between stuff. So I do it a little bit different than what I think a lot of people might do it in Blender. My way's pretty quick and easy, so that's got that going for it. First of all, I usually just start by clicking up here and pulling this over. You've got these little options, these little corners. When you see your cursor turn into crosshairs, that's how you can know you can actually pull it over. Or you could, let's see, you could right click right here and split area, and then there you go. We're gonna want to come down to this little area here and just click UV image editor, and there we go. You want to come back to the 3D image editor. You want to come into this, and I usually use the edge selection for this. And I start selecting edges, which I want to be separated. Imagine you have a piece of paper that you want to fold over all of your thing. That's your texture. So you need to decide where the paper is cut, at what points there are cuts in the paper, so that it doesn't rip along anything or get really bad messed up stuff. So what I'm going to do is, like here, I want there to be a cut here, here, here. On all of these are disconnected entirely now from this. So I'm going to go ahead and press Control E and mark seam. So now it's got a red line around it. That means that this face and this face over here are not connected. Here they're still connected, but here they won't be. So let's go ahead and just press A to select everything, and then U to unwrap the UV. And as you can see, all this stuff is connected. If I press L, it'll select everything that's connected underneath my cursor. So I'm going to move all this connected stuff. And you'll see this guy over here is not connected. So if I just come over, I'm going to make a new image. We'll make it a white one. Okay. So now we've got a neat little white image. I'll move all this stuff back over here. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Okay, so I'll come over here, and I'm just going to come to, instead of view mode, I want to come to paint mode. And I'm just going to paint this black so that you guys can see. I'm going to press T so I get the options over here. And I'm just going to change this. Actually, I'll paint it red. I'm just going to paint this red, just so you guys can see exactly what's going on. If this were connected to the rest of that, I would have all these ugly edges where I'm not the world's best painter. You would see all that. Let's see the two coats. It looks prettier. I feel like I'm painting a car. A beautiful cherry red car. Okay, so that's that. It's really kind of ugly. So now if I press tab, I don't really see, oh no, I'm just kidding. You got to come down to this, which is your shader, which shows different ways that it's going to shade your view. You have all these selections. Wireframe is, of course, wireframe. Boundary box, it actually just shows the box around, which I've never found a need for it, but I'm sure it's pretty useful in some cases. Wireframe, again, just the wireframe of the model. Then you have solid, which is what we've been seeing. And then you have texture, which shows the texture. And as you can see, it's a red area that we could put on there. So now let me show you how to apply textures that are images to your model. So what I do, like I said, is a little bit different. What I'll do is usually I'll do all my UV unwrapping, so let me do that real quick, and I'll just skip through it so you guys don't have to sit through it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just done all my UV unwrapping stuff. I've marked all my seams. And what I usually do after this point, I see I have these guys. I'm just going to real quick delete those. I completely forgot about them. There we go. What I'm going to do is just press A and U to unwrap. And so you see I've got everything unwrapped here. And it's changed a little bit what's shaded red now. So go to texture. See over here, this is shaded red a little bit. We get some in this corner and some on the top there, which I'm not sure which is what, but we'll be able to find out later. And I don't want to use this white texture with red on it. That's just, what kind of level would this be? Kind of a fun one, I think. It'd be really neat. Reminiscent of Portal or something. But anyway, I'm going to start selecting all the faces that I want to have grass. But first, let's load the grass image. I'm just going to go ahead and come to Open Image. So I want to just come to, I've got it bookmarked over here, BKXBLA texture pack, which is the texture pack that is linked on Banjo's backpack, the forums over at Banjo's backpack. I'm going to go ahead and click this image, this button, which changes it so that I can see the images because they're all named numbers and I don't have them memorized. I fail at everything. And I want to look for basically a grass texture, which I don't remember what it is. Let me pause the video while I look for it. Alright, so I found the image. Okay. So now I'm just going to come over and let's just go into view mode over here. And, whoa! Okay, let's change. So let's just select what I want to be grass. So I definitely want all of this. If I press L over a face while in select, make sure you're in face mode. And if I press L, it'll only select things within that seam. So if I press L here, it only selects those two faces. I'm just going to select everything I want to put grass on. So it's selected all the things that I want grass on. And I'm just going to come over, because I've opened that image, it's in my little image history. I'm going to go ahead and select everything, and I just usually tend to scale up. I don't think this is the correct way of doing things. It's easy for prototyping, and I mean, you can actually go into Photoshop and create much more intricate, detailed and accurate textures, but for the purposes of learning how to texture something and being quick, which is what I usually do, I'm very expedient about making a level, and then I worry about detailed texture after I've got a level made, and I can actually focus on the nitty-gritty of stuff. So next what we'll do is we'll get a wall texture for these, so I'll just go ahead and open that, and we'll skip all that process, and I'll see you once I have everything set up. Okay, so here's something. Sometimes you'll have something like this where it's sideways, and all you have to do is select that and rotate it. And if you come over to your keypad or your numbers on the top row of your keyboard, you can just type in 90, and if it's upside down, which I think this is, just hit negative, and there we go. Now everything is right side up. I'm just going to move this closer to these guys. AA, and scale it up so that it looks pretty good on the wall there. And there we have that, and our last guy. I don't know what this is going to be. Alrighty guys, so there is my level. It's not much of a level, but it works, and it's textured. Okay, so right before exporting, what you want to do is you just want to come into edit mode, select everything by pressing A, go to mesh, and you want to go to faces, and you want to click, where is that little sucker, Triangulate Faces. You can see that it's also Control T. So what that does is it turns everything into triangles, which works much better with Banjo's backpack. That's a very important step, so don't forget to do that, guys. So now I want to get this out to Banjo's backpack. So what we've got to do is, I'm just going to collapse this over here. What I want to do is come to File, Export, and I'm going to click wavefront.obj. So it's going to send me over here, and I'm going to save it here because that's my directory, whatever your guys' directory is. So there's a couple things you want to do before you just hit export. First of all, you want to set path mode. You want to change that from auto to copy. That's the one that works best for me. If that's not working for you, try some of these other ones. But I'm pretty sure that copy is the way to go. It basically copies the file directory over, so that it's the textures you're using. It just copies that, and it's okay. That's where to look for these pictures. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, you want to make sure that forward is Z forward and Y is up, because in Banjo's backpack, Y is up and not Z, and in Blender, Z is up and not Y. So you want to make sure that it's set up is Y, which that's the default, so you're good. So really the only thing you want to change is this. Make sure the scale, the scale is changeable within Blender's backpack. Okay, so after you've got all this stuff set up, you can actually save this as an operator preset if you want, which I think I'm going to. I've never done that before. Make sure I don't bump into my mic here. Okay, so the name Banjo's backpack. Okay. And now I should have the Banjo's backpack preset. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to save this as poopy level. And export OBJ. Okay, so now I'm in Banjo's backpack and I'm at Treasure Trove Cove, one of my favorite levels. And what I'm going to do is, I like to erase everything first. I don't know why, I'm weird. Then I'm going to go to Tools, Model Importer, which opens up our little importer here. File, Import OBJ. There we go. And now we've got our huge level, with Banjo roughly being the size that I had estimated. And we've got this huge level where there's a big metal thing with a weird pointy center and nice little textured everything. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful, baby. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. File save as level model. Poopy level.obj, but not .obj. Come on, I don't want that .obj on there. Okay. It's successfully created. And what I want to do, model A, poopy level, material, poopy level bin, open, update. And there we go. There you have it. That's how to use Blender with Banjo's backpack. Okay, that's about it, guys. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions for me, you can easily find me at the Banjo's backpack forums. Leave comments. I'll definitely come by and check them, and I'll reply to you. And if you have any questions that are beyond my range in the Banjo's backpack area, I'm sure Skill is glad to help you. He's a super awesome and friendly guy, and I'd like to thank him for Banjo's backpack because it's an awesome software and a lot of fun. So, thank you guys. See you next time.